this evening. My aim is always to do these in an hour, but this machine just keeps getting better and better. So there's always more to go through. And of course, as I was just saying, we've now got the cutter as well to have a look at. Hopefully, you've got two screens. You've got me in stereo side by side. So you've got just an overview of me in portrait and then a close-up on the screen. I have pinned both views. So hopefully, if you're on, I think if you're on speaker view, you need to be on speaker view rather than gallery view to see it. You should just see me and nobody else. So this session is really for your benefit. So please feel free, either drop a question in the chat. I might not spot it on the chat because it is me and I haven't usually, when we do the big demos, I've got an admin person keeping an eye on that chat. So you might be better off just sort of interrupting me and calling out. That's absolutely fine. I'd rather you ask the questions that you needed to so that we can go through things in more detail if necessary. So Yo-Yo's coming in, so I might actually be able to assign the chat to her once she's in. Let me just give me a couple of moments. I'll just put her as a co-host. Yasmin, Yo-Yo, I'm just going to put you, if you're there, as a co-host, if you wouldn't mind just keeping an eye on the chat for me and calling out any questions.
I've got an ill child at the same time.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm going to do my best to keep an eye on it. It's fine.
I'll be popping in and out if that's okay.
No, that's okay. That's okay. But hopefully, right, if you can just put yourself on mute so that everybody's got I think everybody should have speaker view. I hope your child gets better soon. There's a lot of it around. So good evening, everybody. Congratulations for those of you that are new Thermomix owners and existing owners. This is obviously the best appliance that you can ever have. I know I'm biased, but you know, in my whole professional career, I've never used anything better than a Thermomix. If there are people on this call that are looking at buying a Thermomix this evening, because we do invite people that are just sort of evaluating whether or not a Thermomix is right for them, hopefully you'll find this session really useful, as we are going to go through all the modes and features so you can see exactly what it can do and you know how many appliances really it replaces. It just offers such amazing value for money. These sessions I always try and get down to about an hour, but there's just so much to cover, which I think just shows you just how invaluable they are, because there's so much to talk about. They can do so many things. So hopefully you will realise it is one of the best investments that you can make in the kitchen. So we're going to get started. First thing I'm going to do, put my other view there, is look at the bowl, because what lots of people don't realise is that you can actually take the bowl apart completely and it can go in the dishwasher. So this is the first thing I say to people usually, but unfortunately there is so much to take in at the start when you become a Thermomix owner that it's often something that people forget. And I went to a demo, it's been a couple of weeks ago, and somebody was there who'd been an owner for a good couple of years, and they did not know they could take their Thermomix apart. So there you go. There's always something new to learn. So here you go. The bowl comes apart. So you've got the blades and the base and then the main bowl itself. To put it back together, let me just move that there. I just drop the blades in from the top like that. Flip it upside down. So you do it in reverse and then just offset the base and squeeze it together. So it's really, really easy. So all you do to drop the blades out is just give that base a twist and then they drop out. The first couple of times you do it, when your Thermomix is brand new, it will be really stiff and then it will loosen off and it becomes really easy to do. So don't panic, especially if you've got dodgy wrists or you know, hands that can be quite painful. If you can just get somebody to do that step the first couple of times for you, then you'll find it eases off and it's much easier to do. Then of course you put the lid, which is a little bit dirty because of course my Thermomix has been in use today. So that's the lid, and then you've got this insert to the lid, which is called the measuring cup, and it's called the measuring cup because it is a measuring cup. I don't know if you can pick that up under my lights, but you've got a 50 ml measure to sort of halfway up, and then a 100 ml measure. And these are brilliant because you've also got a pourer on it. So I often use this to pour out pancake batter or crepe batter. So it dispenses the batter that you've made as well, and just make sure that you get the right amount in the pan. So that can be really useful. Really slippery. There are some recipes that say you can pour, or so if you're going to make mayonnaise, or if you want to separate egg whites or eggs into egg whites and yolks, you can crack your eggs on here so that the whites drop through and the yolks stay in the top. So that's quite a neat little use for this lid and measuring cup. You might just need to lift it up slightly just so that you get a hole, more of a hole. However, you'll see that there are cutouts all around the side of the cup itself. So it doesn't sit firmly on the lid. There is space for liquid to fall through. So that is the sort of the approach that's used. Let's see, people opening up. Wendy's coming in and Jed's coming back. Right, let's hopefully. You'll stay in now. That's the approach that's used when you're making something like a mayonnaise and you need to put oil on the top. It just emulsifies itself down into the eggs that are usually in the bottom of the bowl. So that's quite a clever little aspect of the design of this lid, that you can use it for things like dispensing oil down into the main part of the bowl and separating eggs. You do need to be a little bit careful with separating eggs because obviously you don't want the yolks to crack, but that again is neat, and it saves you having to do some washing up and putting your whites into a separate bowl before you put them in the Thermomix. You've then got the simmering basket, which sits inside like that, inside the bowl. You'll notice that there is a little hole in the simmering basket. That's because the Thermomix spatula is designed to hook in like that. And then you can even set your simmering basket. You'll see there's a little recess on the handle there. You can set your simmering basket to drain. So the idea of this, of course, is when you have been steaming or cooking and you've got hot food in the simmering basket, it might be quite awkward to pull out. So, of course, Bulwark think of everything for you so that it's safe for your fingers, and you can just pull it out with the assistance of the spatula and just leave it to rest using the handle, and then the contents will drain down to save it cooling water all over your worktop. So that's a useful way to use the simmering basket and the spatula, which again, a lot of people don't realise. And then you'll also notice that the simmering basket's got vents at the front. So if you're making things like lemonade, often recipes will ask you to put the simmering basket in and then you can pour through. So it functions as a sieve as well. It's quite useful to drain out sort of pasta and things like that when you've been cooking it as well. Just to avoid you having to go around your kitchen drawers and finding lots of extra equipment. These machines are designed to be as versatile as possible and replace as many different items of kitchen equipment as necessary. So you don't have to have your cupboards full of stuff. So you can, for example, you can use the Varoma. So this is the Varoma accessory. You can use that as a colander as well. So you can drain things through. It also has a number of uses whilst the Thermomix is cooking. So I might go through some of those as and when we come to them this evening. So the measuring bowl goes in. Just one thing to watch out for. The whole thing can be put in the dishwasher, but just make sure if it's come out of a dishwasher, these metal pins here are dry. So just give them a little dry off with a tea towel before you insert them in. So the bowl, the lid, if you're using the Varoma, you take the measuring cup out of the lid. Let me just see if I can get a close of you. You'll get a close up of all my washing up as well. Let's put you that way. So that you need to have the hole in the lid, of course, so that the heat can come up through. So then you put the varoma on the top. The varoma's got 3 different parts to it. You've got the base, or the dish, I think they used to call it, the tray, and then the lid. Your lid isn't clear plastic, yours is dark. This is a very old TM5 lid, but I like it, so I tend to use it. So the varoma can confuse some people, because it is the term varoma is the name of the attachment or the accessory, but it's also, if you go onto the screen, the Thermomix screen here, and go onto temperature, varoma is also a setting on the temperature dial. And that's because generally, if you're using this attachment, you do really need the varoma setting on here to ensure that whatever is in here, so usually some form of water or stock or a soup liquid, generates enough steam to cook through whatever you've got in here. So if you are cooking and steaming something and cooking something through as opposed to fermenting, just remember you need to really be using the varoma temperature. 100 degrees will not generate, generally will not generate enough steam for you. So when people are exploring and using the Thermomix manually, I always recommend, if you're using this, use varoma, because you may well find if you use anything below that, the food will not be cooked through. So Carol's saying, I can't see her screen. It's just me. Carol, are you on speaker view rather than, or are you on gallery view rather than speaker view? You should be able to see 2 of me pinned side by side.
No, I'm only seeing 1 of you.
Oh, well, that's weird. Can everybody else see 2? I can see 2 on my Thermomix
I'm on
screen.
my phone. Does it make a difference?
It might do. Well, just go to, if you go to, can you go to a view? Is there a view anywhere on the phone?
More.
If you can find the view setting. Jackie, you on a phone too?
Oh God,
No.
I've lost you now.
That's weird. Just check you're not on gallery view. You need speaker view or presenter view. I've definitely pinned.
Okay, I'll try and figure out.
Let me have a look. Remove spot. Let me just see if I can spotlight. So let me just continue. Now you're just
Lindsay,
going.
Lindsay, I'm on my phone as well, and I can only do 1 video, but I'll keep having a look as we go.
Yeah. Right, I've spotlighted now. Is that better for people?
Yes.
Yes.
I can only see 1 of you.
Oh. Oh no. Oh, so Jackie says
oh,
yes.
No. Yes, this is better. I can see both of you.
Yay! Excellent. Great. I can see 2. Well, I could see 2 of me, but now it's disappeared from my phone. So hopefully that's the answer, spotlighting rather than pinning. Okay. So you'll notice I was just explaining with the temperature dial, you need the varoma temperature if you're using the varoma attachment. This is the next accessory. It's called the whisk. It's generally used for things like whipping double cream, whipping egg white. The whisk is used by, you put it right over the blades on the bowl, give it a little twist. And you see that, if you can all just mute yourselves as well. Sorry, I know some of you have just unmuted to ask questions, but just please mute afterwards. Otherwise I get loads of feedback in my ears and it's distracting. So when you put the butterfly whisk in, just drop it over the top of the blades and give it a little twist after insertion. It doesn't matter which way, as long as you're giving it that twist, it will be effectively locked into position. So I'll just show you that with this view. It's a bit close, a little bit darker. Can you see that there? Just give it a twist. Okay, so you can see it just moves between the 2 blades. Doesn't matter which way you go, just pick one and it will lock it into position. So that's the butterfly whisk. If you're whipping things like egg whites, you really need to make sure that that bowl is clean and dry. Dry, crucially, otherwise you'll find that your egg whites won't whip. Okay, so what have I got here? I don't know why it's suddenly Not showing two views. I can only see one. Yes, on the phone, I can't see the Thermomix whiz screen. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that is. I think it just must be a phone setting. I think I've spotlighted both. So you should, I don't know if you swipe across on your phone screen, whether or not that helps. It looks, so Wendy says it looks great. Fine. It might just be a phone thing. Okay. So coming on to, what else have I got? Oh yes, the blade. So for those of you that have got the peeling blade cover, you would place it over the top of the blades, just give it a little twiddle until you hear it click in, and that's your blade cover, and then it just lifts out again. So the blade cover generally used in dishes where you've got sort of more delicate foods and you don't want the food broken up by the blades turning. So it's often asked for in recipes that involve cooking food over a long period of time, slow cooking, and for sous vide, if you're going to use your Thermomix to sous vide, to cook food inside a vacuum sealed plastic bag in a water bath. And then the last accessory that comes with the Thermomix is called the splatter guard. And you will be told if you need the splatter guard, actually. Most recipes will tell you whether you need to put the measuring cup in, the splatter guard, or lastly, we had a software update last summer, and a lot more of the recipes now will use the simmering basket on the top. So you can see there's a recess in the lid. That, again, is designed for the simmering basket just to sit neatly within, it's held into position. And the idea of having the simmering basket there instead of the measuring cup is that it lets more steam out. So there's not a build-up of pressure in here, but the benefit to your cooking is that it reduces the sauces a lot better. So there used to be some negative comments about some of the recipes where the liquid, the sauce, was a little bit too watery when you make it in the Thermomix. And that's because generally, if you were cooking it with the measuring cup in, then you weren't getting that the steam to evaporate off. Now, generally, it is a lot better by using the simmering basket. So we had an update and a lot of the recipes were corrected last summer so that you just pop that on top instead. And that should solve the problem. The last accessory now, the newest accessory, is called the cutter. I won't use it tonight, just so that people can see it. And this is also really important because we've had quite a few casualties already. When you use the cutter, you need to put the shaft in first of all. Then you pop the bowl or basket inside the Thermomix. And then whichever side you need goes uppermost. So one side will do thick grating and slicing and the other side will do thin. And if you're following a recipe, it will make it very clear what number you need up at the top. So can you see there's a number 1 there, or there's a number 2. So whichever side is required by the recipe, you have uppermost. So that goes on, and then you just pop the lid on over the top, and then the chute goes in. So that's how you assemble the cutter. The really key thing to remember with a cutter is that after use, and this is so important because we've already lost loads of them, you need to remove the shaft from the top of the blade. Lots of people are forgetting that and then going on to do things like grate Parmesan. So you get a grated cutter or a grated shaft. So do please remember to remove that. Cutter's very straightforward. We have a mode now, a new mode. So if you swipe across to reveal the mode screen and go on to grating or slicing, it will give you those instructions, and you can then select thin or thick slices. So it's always worth having that when your Thermomix is new. Every mode comes with its own information screen. Can you see that little eye at the top? So you've got the option when you've used it a few times and you know what you're up to click that little tick box at the bottom and say, don't show me this message again. But when you're unfamiliar with it, this is what you want to have a look at, because it will explain exactly how to use that particular mode or any accessory that is used for the mode. Okay, so to come out of that and go back to the mode screen, you just swipe the other way. This little home button there means take me to the home screen. The home screen is the one with the 3 dials. All of our recipes are laid out as time first, temperature and speed. Whichever dial is highlighted at the time, whichever dial is enlarged or bigger, this silver selector button on the side, so it's a little bit dark. I know it's a bit dark. I can't do much about that with my way my lighting's set up. This speed selector will operate that. So, for example, currently my speed dial is enlarged. So if I turn this silver button, it is just going to operate the speed dial. You can switch between the dials by pressing the button, if you like, or tap the screen. Either work, it's a touch screen. So if you're heating, your time, you have to have a time set on your home screen in order to heat. If you don't have that time and you try and heat up, oh no, it's not going to work. Oh, there we go. Time has not been selected. Set time to enable heating function. So you need to put a time in. That's just a safety feature. So obviously, if you're following a guided recipe, all the settings are going to be preset for you. This is just if you're using it manually. Just remember that you're not going to get any heat unless you select a time. And I have had calls and messages from people saying, my Thermomix hasn't cooked anything and I've set it to like 100 degrees and I've come back half an hour later and my food is still cold and raw. And that is because the time has not been set. Okay, so time, temperature. What else can I tell you about the temperature dial? So it goes around from sort of 37 to 40 degrees, which is generally used when heating up some form of liquid, either milk or water to make bread, all the way round to this aroma, which is just above steaming temperature. So it's about 120, 125, something like that. Again, when you're following a recipe, the time and temperature will always be preset for you. The speed needs to be set. You will be given your little instruction at the bottom of the screen to tell you what speed to select. And there is a nominal guide as well around the dial to show you what you're aiming for. And speed goes all the way from gentle stir round to, that's not going to like it, round to big 10. If ever you have a recipe that asks you to put the blades into reverse, again, if it's guided, it should automatically do that for you. But if you are doing a recipe manually and you would, reverse is used, if you look at the blades, on one side they're sharp and thin, and on the other side they're thick and blunt. So when they spin in a clockwise direction, the sharp side is in contact with the food, so it's doing all that chopping and mincing and grinding. When they go the other way, the blunt side is. So if you ever need to do a sort of a gentle stir, then you are generally going to be using the blades in reverse. So you just tap them under the little icon. You can see a blade icon until you get the green reverse, and then tap again. It's always worth checking when you're doing a risotto on a guide or any recipe where the instruction is for the blades to go into reverse. Just check that they are still in reverse when it starts cooking. It is quite easy to inadvertently tap the screen just while you're twisting the selector button to the correct speed and inadvertently take off the reverse. So always try and remember to check that. So that's your home screen. As I mentioned, if you swipe across, you're going to get the modes. And this is what now takes more time, because this machine really does get better with age. So every few months, we have a new software update, either correcting bugs or glitches in the system or offering us new modes and features to play with so that we can offer you even more versatility and functionality with just the one appliance. So you've got everything from scales. Now, all of these modes will again come on as and when required if you are following a guided recipe, okay? So you don't need to worry about selecting the right mode because it will automatically come on. This is really just if you want to use your Thermomix manually to perform certain tasks like weighing. So you're going to click on the scales, resets to 0. If at any point you then, so for example, you can put a bowl on, let's just grab a bowl, like that, pop that on the top, and you can see I've got a bowl on the top now, and I've got the weight of the bowl weighed on the front of the screen. So I can just click that tare button, it resets to 0, and then I can weigh directly in. So the tare means take back to 0. Somebody did explain to, I think, is it a Latin word or I can't remember. Somebody on this call will probably know where it comes from or look it up and tell us. But there's a reason why the word tare is used, and I can never remember it. So that's your scales. You can put your scales on during a recipe as well if you are following through a recipe and just need to weigh something. No need to get a separate set of weighing scales. As long as the blades aren't turning above about speed 3.5, I think you can still use your scales. Chop. Now, this is a software update, which is absolutely brilliant, actually. There's a new cooking center, which allows you to determine... Oh, hang on.
No, why?
Get that down. Which allows you to say, right, exactly what am I chopping? So if I'm going to chop something like... onions, okay, you can then select how many onions you want to chop, so what weight about. You've got
what you want?
A lot of, oh, who's off mute? Oh, and you remember just to put yourselves back on mute. Or if Yo-Yo's still on, can you mute everybody apart from me?
You just have to dry it off, and then we'll have to put plaster on it. We'll do.
Who's on?
Do you know why? It's because I was doing this, and I thought of this, like straight.
That should be right. Okay, so I've selected, I want 500 grams of onions. So it's telling me if I want to chop 500 grams of onions, the setting is, the time it required is 5 to 6 seconds at speed 5. So let's set that, and you can see it will automatically program your dials for you with the time, and then you need to turn the speed to speed 5. So this is a brilliant tool, actually. It should answer lots of questions for how to weigh or how to deal with certain ingredients when you pop them in the Thermomix. And of course, the settings are going to be different depending on what you are doing. So if you want to grind up rice, you can do 100 to 250 grams. And it tells you you need a minute to a minute and a half at speed 10, and then just set. So this is really useful, actually, because people used to find it quite difficult to know what settings to use, even though there are guides in the back of the Simple Ideas book. So the book that you got given with your Thermomix has got guides in it to tell you exactly what settings to use. But now we've also got it on the front of the screen for you, which is brilliant. So let's come out of that. Dough mode, again, will automatically come on. You've just got your 2 dials here. You just program the time and then just click across to set it off, and it will start kneading for you. Generally, most recipes are about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes knead. Turbo, you can switch between 1 and 2 seconds on the half 1 and 2 seconds on the turbo, and again 2 dials. So once you program the time, then you just quickly turn this second dial to start the blades turning. Turbo is used for chopping, generally chopping nuts, grinding beans up, You could grind sugar into icing sugar, really using it. It's a very intense burst of speed. It's also very useful for getting any dough or batter when you'll be making cakes that might be stuck on and around the blades off, because it spins the blades really, really quickly and pings everything off to the side. So that's worth remembering, because it will make it much easier to scrape out any remaining mixture from your Thermomix. Pre-clean, pretty self-explanatory. Again, we've got this overview screen. You just need to cover the blades with water, drop of washing up liquid, not too much washing up liquid, otherwise you'll have bubbles coming out everywhere. And then you can just choose which option is best, really. The new short pre-wash is brilliant. Again, this was delivered to us via a software update a few months ago. It's much quieter, it's much quicker, and it does the job really well. So I mostly use the short pre-wash now. If you don't have time to wait for a pre-wash, you can just go onto the dials and do sort of 10 seconds at, you know, speed 9 or 10. Just make sure, though, that you put the measuring cup in before you do that, because obviously if you've got the blades turning with lots of water in here at a very high speed, it could go quite wrong quite quickly. So just make sure you've got your measuring cup in. Okay, then you've got your blender, pretty self-explanatory really. Preset the time, and then you can choose whichever sort of speed that is relevant for you. I often, again, I'm too lazy actually to program the mode. If I want to blend something, generally I just do it on my dials and do sort of speeds between 6 and 10. If the blend function is required during a guided recipe, it will automatically tell you what speed. So, for example, it comes on during making hummus. So if you spun the blades too fast when making hummus, you wouldn't actually be able to mix any of the chickpeas down into a paste, because it would just spin everything out, splatter it all around the side of the bowl. So it is worth remembering you can't be too gung-ho with the blend function if you've got solids in there as opposed to a liquid like soup. Egg boiler, again, does what it says on the tin. All the instructions are on your information screen. One thing to remember with this, eggs need to be cold from the fridge, because all the timings are based on that. If you're using eggs at room temperature, then obviously you are, the timings will be affected, because it's going to take less time to cook them, because it's not bringing them up from cold. So you can determine how you want your eggs, whether you want them soft, medium, etc., all the way around to hard boiled. And it really does work. It's one of the features that initially some customers can be a bit sniffy about, you know, oh God, I'm spending £1,000 or so to boil my eggs. But actually it's one of the features that very quickly people come to absolutely love, because it just takes all the guesswork out of the process. And that is one of the reasons, one of the main reasons why people buy Thermomix, because it is all about minimizing that margin of error. And just ensuring a perfect restaurant quality result. Kettle function, again, put your water in there, tell it what temperature you want it to warm the water up to. It's quite useful if you're doing tea or coffee, you can just have the water slightly under boiling. Again, not much to say about that. It does take longer than a kettle. It's not going to save you a lot of money heating up your water in the Thermomix, because again, there's a bit of a trade-off. It takes less power, but it takes a bit longer. But it's there if you need it. So if you're traveling and you don't want to take a kettle with you, you've got the option, obviously, of using Thermomix to heat up your water. So that's very useful. Warm-up mode, again, pretty self-explanatory. You can just determine on here what temperature you want your food heated up to. I would always recommend, where is it, that you put the butterfly whisk in when using the warm-up mode. It just means that the heat is distributed more evenly. Thicken mode, used for making sauces, gravies, it's brilliant. Again, don't worry too much about thicker mode. If and when required, the recipe will tell you, and it automatically comes on. But I make all my gravies using thicker mode. I just make a roux first, and then I generally if I'm making gravy, just increase the temperature to 100 and then just click start, and it will the blades will turn, it will cook out to 100 degrees and automatically take all the lumps out of your sauce, which is genius. Rice cooker, again, if you're using the rice cooker, there is an information screen to help you. There is a collection on Cookidoo called Rice Cooker Collection. I would consult that because it will tell you exactly what weights to use, what time to use, the different quantities of various grains like rice, I think there might be quinoa on there, millet, something like that, maybe bulgur wheat. So it's worthwhile consulting the collection on Cookidoo. I'll show you where to find those in a bit. The fermentation. So this is used to predominantly ferment yogurt or dough. It's worthwhile spending a little bit of time on this fermentation mode. Let me just go, if I close that down, it will just give you the fermentation screen. So it's preset for sort of a long period of time, 8 hours at about 70. And then you just, again, just click start to start it. And the idea of this is that you would have water in your bowl with a bit of lemon juice and then you would have your aroma at the top. Let's show you that. The aroma on the top without the tray inside it. And then you put in, so usually, let's get some light. If you watch my last demo, you'll have seen me do this. But here are our little Thermomix yogurt pots with their lids on. And you pop them in, stick the lid on, and then yogurt will take anywhere between 8 and 12 hours to ferment. The recipe will tell you exactly what will program the time automatically for you, and then you just need to start it. So it's pretty self-explanatory, really. The other thing that fermentation mode can be used for, which can be really useful, is fermenting dough. So you can fast-proof dough in here. So I would, let's see if that's still in my hamper for demos. So let's just use this silicone mat. So I often will wrap my dough once it comes out of the Thermomix in a silicone mat, pop that in there. Same principle, a bit of water in there, and then there's a minimum on the fermentation mode. You can only set it for 1 hour actually as a minimum. But you've got 1 hour, 70 degrees, and then turn. You can always stop it after half an hour. It will only take about half an hour to ferment dough properly to be able to use it, especially things like pizza dough will go in very, very quickly. So you can either use that, or sometimes if I can't even bother to put my fermentation mode on, I tend to just do, if I only need half an hour, I'll just program the dials to 30 minutes, 70 degrees, and then usually about speed 2. That'll do it. Okay. I can tell it's speed 2 on the fermentation mode because the noise of the blades is pretty consistent with speed 2. Okay. So that's fermentation. Slow cook, again, I mean, I would recommend, if you want to use your Thermomix as a slow cooker, I don't do a lot of slow cooking. I'm a bit kind of hard and fast. So I don't know much about the slow cooking mode. I'm not really your girl to ask. If my advice to you would be to follow a collection on Cookidoo. So the recipes are guided. You can, of course, use your own ingredients. You can swap out ingredients for those that you would prefer. It's just a question of using the method recommended on the Thermomix, on that guided recipe. So you can use any of your own recipes following the method of a guided recipe on Cookidoo. So that is the way I would recommend if you are wanting to use your Thermomix more manually to cook some of your own recipes rather than following the ones on Cookidoo. Just find a similar recipe on Cookidoo and program it so you can see what settings and modes are used. And slow cook is a key example of that. But again, find the collection. Why can't I get that off the screen now? Okay. So slow cooking, again, you've got your time preset. Your temperature is generally about between 90 and 95. And then you just click to start. Sous vide. Shh. Just hang on, my children are arguing. Okay, that's enough.
Well, can you get it in?
I know, I can't. You can get it. Okay, so the sous vide mode, I often get asked about this, and it's quite a nice thing to do actually. If you have got a vac seal machine, you can do it with just Ziploc bags, but it's not quite as easy. If you've got a vac sealer, dead easy to vacuum seal your steak or protein, chicken breast, salmon into bags with aromatics if necessary, and then you cook those bags inside a constant temperature water bath. Now the temperature guides are all on Cookidoo for you if you are following a guided recipe, or you can look up guides on Google, for example. So if you wanted to cook a certain weight of fillet steak so that it was rare or medium or well done, you would find the required temperature setting for that. So generally it defaults to 30 minutes. Depending on what you're cooking, and if you're following a guided recipe, your time and your temperature will be preset. But if you're cooking a steak, I would do a steak at about 55 for maybe about an hour. And then you drop the bags in. Once the water inside has reached the right temperature, you drop your bags in and just click start. And you do need one of these inside to do it. But again, to build up your confidence with this mode, I would always do it on a guided recipe. There are some lovely recipes for sous vide steak, for salmon, I think for teriyaki chicken thighs as well. That's a really good one. Or beef cheeks. Do we sous vide the beef? We might slow cook the beef cheeks actually. But again, have a look. Go search for sous vide in Cookidoo, and it will bring you up some results. Peeler. So you can use your Thermomix as a potato peeler, or you can peel other root vegetables. So you just need your peeler accessory inside. And again, look at the information screen. It will give you an overview of how many vegetables you can put in, and how much water that you need. And then you just click start. So I had a customer over Christmas who said, yeah, I can't remember how many kilos of potatoes. He was doing a big dinner for a lot of people, and he said I could have peeled all the potatoes by hand, but I just kept chucking 800 grams in the Thermomix at a time. I think he did like 5 or 6 kilos. He said it was brilliant because he could get on with something else entirely while it was just peeling all his potatoes for him. And then we talked about the grating and the slicing mode. So you do need the new cutter tool for that. So apologies to existing customers who are still unable to buy it, and we haven't been given any details yet when that's coming back on. Okay, so what else on the main menu? So to the left of the home screen, you have got 3 lines. Main menu, this is where you've got access to things like any recipe collections that you've either created yourself or saved, and any created recipes. So any recipes you've created on your Cookidoo app, you will be able to find on this screen. So you can see me just scroll through those. So you've got created collections. So these are collections of recipes that you can put together yourself on Cookidoo. So for example, I've got a cake folder where I've just gone scrolling through Cookidoo and said, oh, that cake looks nice. I'll just save it in my cake folder so it's all together. So pretty self-explanatory. You can create as many collections as you want. And then you've got your saved collections. So these are all the Thermomix produced cookery books. And they range from full cookery books down to just collections of maybe 8 to 12 recipes. And you can save all of those onto your Cookidoo account, either on your app or your laptop. And then they are available at the touch of a button through your Thermomix screen. Same principle with the weekly planner. So I haven't got anything in there. We will sort that out when I next go into Cookidoo. So with your weekly planner, you can schedule what you want to cook today, over the next week, over the next month, etc., etc. And then you can have a look back over ones that you have. Oh, is it that one? Is it that one? My previous weekly planner. So you've got details of recipes that you've programmed into Cook. I don't think I was away last weekend. So here we go. So I've got all sorts of things. So here's what I did at a demo last week. And then you can just go back through it and see, just remind yourself what you've chosen to cook. There's loads of stuff on here. And it's quite nice because you've got it all at the touch of a button. So you just know that you can go back and look at your history. Okay, so let's come out of there. I think it's probably going to be easier just to go back into the main menu. Then you've got your recently cooked. So your recently cooked, it's just a record. I think it can store something bonkers, like over 1,000 recipes, maybe even more than that in the recently cooked history. If you ever have to do a factory reset for whatever reason, you will lose your recently cooked history. You won't lose your Cookidoo account, though that is stored on the cloud. So you still have access to all your Cookidoo account stuff, but you just will lose what's stored on the hard drive, which is the recently cooked history. Okay, what's the matter, darling? What's up? No, you're not having any chocolate. You've had enough. What are you saying? What do you want? You don't know. Okay, well, why don't you go and ask Alexa for what you want? Where is she? Oh dear, I've got a 4-year-old. Do you want to come and sit up here? Right, you can sit up here. Don't fiddle with anything. There we go. Right, you can sit up there. Right. Okay, sit. Don't fall off. So on the where am I now? Recently, so we did recently cooked settings. On settings, you can alter the language. This is where you would, if you are traveling and you need to connect to a different Wi-Fi system, you would just click on Wi-Fi and add the details in there. Bluetooth is only relevant really if you've got a friend device. Don't write in that's for a friend. If you've got a Thermomix friend. Oh, so reassuring to speak. Say hello to Wendy. Say hello. There we go. No, you won't be, but just say hi. We can say hello to everybody actually. Yes. My older ones are supposed to be babysitting, but you know that's clearly gone out the window because I've told them they have chocolate tonight or drinks. So they're not being very cooperative.
My wife was still doing crunch.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you there. I don't know if you're talking to me. Hello?
All I know is that my colleague is doing a post-mortem.
Oh, hello? Right, I think I just put you on mute. No. Everybody's on mute. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. Sorry. Might be better off putting something in the chat. I can't hear it over the noise of her and then the television from the other room. Okay. So, yeah, Bluetooth is only necessary, really, if you've got a Thermomix friend. You'll come back. Brilliant. Let's hop you down. What else have we got on here? You can check your Cookidoo account details on here. We're having a few glitches with Cookidoo at the moment, which is something I wanted to talk to you about. So on some of the Thermomixes, we're finding that even though there's an active Cookidoo subscription in place, and you can access Cookidoo on your phone or your tablet or a computer, it's not registering on the Thermomix itself. If that happens, what I would recommend that you try before we go down the route of customer services is to switch your Thermomix on and off. You can do a factory reset, which we'll talk about in a minute. You can reset your Wi-Fi router, and you can log out and back in to your Cookidoo account on your Thermomix screen. So you can see there's a log out option there. So if Cookidoo is being difficult, then I would try one of those things first. If that doesn't solve it, then get in touch with your advisor. And generally, there's not much we can do. It's an issue. We're pretty good, but there are a few things that defeat us. And Cookidoo issues are one of them generally. So you may well have to end up just calling customer service, and I would call as opposed to email, because you'll probably get a quicker response. Okay, you can change the sounds. So this is also one of the things I tell all my new customers if I go and do a welcome visit or at demos. Turn the volume down, always turn the volume down to low. And the duration to 10 seconds. I think if I got somebody off mute again. Who's off mute? Why? Oh, there we go. I'm just going to mute Daryl. Okay. So turn this duration down to 10 seconds, otherwise it will drive you slowly round the 20 when it rings at you for 15 minutes. So you can stop that, and then you can play about with different melodies and whatnot. Okay, what else can we say on here? Transportation mode, quite useful if you are traveling, then and you've got food in your Thermomix, you can lock the arms into position so it doesn't, the bowl, if for whatever reason the Thermomix were to tip over, then you've got your bowl hopefully locked into position with the lid on, so less likely to spill any food, and just deactivate it. You can put a pin lock on now. You can change the system of measurement between metric and ounces. If you're on a Cookidoo recipe, it will automatically translate for you. So if you're doing an American recipe, the recipe steps will walk you through in ounces as opposed to grams, and you can't override that. But for example, if you're just manually using your Thermomix scales and you'd rather have them in ounces than grams, then you can know that you can change it there. And then factory reset. This is what you need to do if you do have a problem. Now, Thermomix are computers at the end of the day, and every now and again we need to reboot our computers. They just, you know, have a bit of a mad moment sometimes, and they need to be reset. So it's not as serious as it sounds. You will lose things like your recently cooked recipes and your any settings that you've overridden, such as the volume and the duration settings, but it's not detrimental in other ways. You will not lose all your Cookidoo folders, for example, because they're stored on the cloud. Okay, so that's that menu. I think we've gone through that enough. And then just know that your contact details for Thermomix head office are on the front of your screen as well. So I get a lot of questions asking me what the phone number is and what the email address is, and it is all on here. Okay, you've got your instruction manual, safety instructions, and other sort of warnings can be found there. Okay, so if we just look very quickly at a recipe next, I'm just going to show you what a recipe looks. So I'll just go into one of my recently cooked recipes. So for example, let's try the pear mint soup. So start cooking, excellent recipe. So you'll see how a recipe appears on the screen. So obviously your first instruction is to weigh in. So we've got these inbuilt scales, absolutely brilliant. Next, you just keep clicking next. You can go back and forward through any step as you need. You can override the weight. So if you don't want to put something in, one of the ingredients that's recommended or part of the recipe, leave it out. You've got full control over it. You can reduce or increase quantities within reason as well. When you are in the main sort of cooking phase, or really at any point during the recipe, by clicking on those three dots at the top, you can open up a few options. You can open a preview panel, which is quite useful because you can click through and see what are the next steps that are required. Then you'd need to close the preview panel to come out of that. You can put your scales on, like I mentioned, at any point, as long as you're not over speed 3.5. You can look at the recipe detail. So you can just scroll down and see what ingredients might be used and what the next steps generally are in the recipe. Whenever you come out of a recipe, you are given the opportunity to go back in at exactly the same place. So by clicking continue, it takes you back to the screen you were on before you left and looked at something else. If you come out of the recipe and press the home button, you'll notice you've got a little bookmark there. Click on the bookmark, and again, it takes you into the recipe where you left off, which is really useful because a lot of the time when we're cooking and we're being distracted or we're doing different things, we kind of look through, we have to keep revisiting various steps on a written recipe to work out where we are. With a Thermomix, there's none of that. So it's really kind of mentally, and it saves you mental energy, basically, and an awful lot of faffing around.
Lindsay?
Yes.
There's a question to say about how many portions you can cook for.
Yeah, so at the start of a recipe, you will, if you go back to the recipe detail and scroll down, it tells you generally how many portions that recipe is designed for. There is an option now where you can increase and decrease the portion size. I think you have to do that on your cookie, or through the recipe on the Cookidoo, either on the app, if you're looking at it on the app, or the laptop. Not all recipes allow you to do that. Actually, on the there are some that do and some that don't, I believe. This one, let's have a look. If I click on serving size, does it give me any options? No, I don't think it does. So generally, portions are based on 4. Some of the recipes are based on 6. Some of the recipes are based on 2. But you can, within reason, either calculate it yourself. So if you wanted to double a recipe, you can, within reason, because obviously we are limited by the capacity of the bowl. So the bowl capacity is just under 2.5 litres. So you just need to bear that in mind. For example, you couldn't really, with the butter chicken recipe, it makes an awful lot of sauce. You could not double that recipe. You might get away with 1.5 times. Has your television come off? Because I don't really want head, shoulders, knees and toes being sung at me, lovely as it is. Do you want to go and watch your TV next door? Okay.
Am I close it?
No, well, just let her go and watch TV.
Alexa's not looking after.
Just Daniel, that's it. I know you're looking after her.
Pasties him afterwards.
Yeah, so back to the serving size, within reason. The butter chicken is a classic example where you can actually, the chicken is based on 500 grams, but you can actually double the chicken, keep the sauce the same, and that would comfortably feed 6 to 8.
This man, John Frank,
right. There we are. But you do have to exercise a little bit of caution because, of course, you are going to be restricted by bowl capacity, which is just under 2.5 litres. But we'll have a look on Cookidoo. We'll have a look at how you can increase or decrease serving size. If that makes, hopefully that's explained it. Right, where am I going now? I think I've probably said everything I need to about that. I don't think there's anything else I need to mention. Of course, if you just want to search for a recipe on your Thermomix screen, you can just press the little search function and then the little magnifying glass, and then you can search straight away for something. So generally the most popular recipes feature first. So obviously lots of people are making sticky date pudding at the moment, and there's coconut and spinach dal. But if you want to just search again, for want of anything better, if I just want to put in chicken in there, then chicken, I just click on chicken and it will bring me up, over 1,000 results, and I can just scroll down. And then I've got these little options here. If I want to have a look at the 3 buttons, I can cook it, schedule it to cook today. So that will put it into my weekly planner for today. I can also bookmark it and I can add those ingredients to the shopping list. So if I click cook today, then we can just quickly go back. I'll show you where that ends up on my weekly planner. It should be there ready for me to start cooking during the day. Okay. Right, I think that's probably it for the recipes. Just trying to think if I need to see. I seem to be going through this more quickly than ever, which is great. So I'm just going to show you on Cookidoo now. If I can just get Cookidoo onto my screen. There we go. I'll show you a couple of different views because it will just, it looks slightly different on the app. Okay, Safari. Let me just click on Safari share. So you should see my screen now. And I should just go down all my tax stuff. Panicking about. Okay, so this is my Cookidoo account. So yours will look very similar than this. You've got the welcome screen. Hopefully it will be personalised to your name. And then this is the sort of the home screen on Cookidoo. It gives you a look at the latest published recipes, which is quite nice to draw your attention to what's new. So we've got a new cutter collection to go with cutter accessories. So these are recipes from that. And then you've got various tutorials that you can access. So if you want to learn more about some of the different modes and the accessories, then you can scroll down and have a look at how you do certain things. So this is the scaled recipes. So this is all about the portions that I got a question about. So if you click into portion sizes, scaled recipes, discover scaled recipes, so it will tell you exactly what you can do, how you do it. You do need the highest level of Cookidoo subscription to do the scaled recipes, which for new customers you'll automatically get. Some of the old customers need to upgrade their Cookidoo account. So it's worthwhile just having a look through there. But we can have a look at the scaled recipes in a minute and how you do it. Okay, so again, a spotlight on seasonal recipes, themed recipes. Obviously, we've got Chinese New Year this week, so there will be some more Chinese recipes on here. A bit of information about the new chopping centre, the chop tool, and then what recipes have been most frequently cooked this week. So we're clearly craving lots of pancakes and waffles. So there's Thermomix modes and tools explained, so you don't have to go back through this session that I've recorded and listen to me. You can get an overview from Cookidoo. So if you click on there, it will give you an introduction into all the different modes. So Cookidoo is a wealth of information, not just on recipes, but actually how to use your Thermomix. And I really like spending time on Cookidoo because you learn so much from it. And I do think the more time you put into Cookidoo, the more you get out of your Thermomix in general. And you start finding recipes that you want to cook. And the more you save, the more you select recipes to cook, the more it will give you recipe suggestions based on what it's seen you like doing. So it's really useful to have your sort of analytics set up correctly. I think you need to accept their terms and conditions and for them to be able to send you notifications and monitor your usage. I would always recommend that you have that function switched on, because it will mean you'll also get the benefit of recipe recommendations tailored specifically for you. So again, if you just have a quick look at the My Recipes, it reflects what you've got on your Thermomix screen. You've got your favourites, which are the bookmarks. You've got created collections, saved collections, and then your created recipes featuring here. So if you ever want to write your own recipe, then this is how you do it. You would do it through this particular screen here under My Recipes, go into created recipes, and then click add. And then you can either create or you can import a recipe from one of the recipe communities. So it's probably a session on itself. So if anybody's struggling with writing how you write your own recipe in Cookidoo, I may well run a separate session on that for people. Okay. See, it's just not something that we can cover. I've just got an eye on the time now in this session because there's just so much to do. So if you go into your weekly planner, you've got access to your shopping list as well. So you can add ingredients onto a shopping list. There you go. And then, so where's that featured in here? So deviled chicken and coleslaw. It's gone into the ingredients have automatically added to my shopping list. Then you can sort of show your ingredients. You can look at it either by category or by recipe. You can edit it. So I bought olive oil today, so I can take that. I actually bought some pine nuts today, so I'll take that, and red pepper. So you can edit it. You can add anything extra that you want to add on. And then you can click order ingredients, and you'll be bumped off to the grocer's site, and you can choose between which store you want to fulfill your grocery order. So if you can click on Tesco's, you can see how much it's going to cost you at Tesco's. I think my toolbar's in the way, so I can't actually see. Let me just try and move that out of the way and move us out of the way. So at Tesco's, it's going to cost £81. All of those ingredients, you can change your store and maybe have a look at Waitrose, which is a bit more. And then once you're happy, you can swap out, ingredients for branded or non-branded. When you're happy, you can just add it to your Waitrose cart. It will automatically transfer, and then you would just continue on the online grocers platform. So this is an amazing function which saves customers an awful lot of money, because not only you've got full control of your shopping list, but you can actually at a glance see which is going to be the cheapest supermarket on that particular week, which is great. Okay, so where am I now? Go back to Cookidoo. That's the shopping list. What do we want to have a little look at next? Okay, so yeah, if we go into the search, this is something that often people don't realise. So you can search your recipes at, you can search at a recipe level. So just for the sake of argument, we did chicken, didn't we? So here are all the chicken recipes that have been that are on the recipe platform for you. So there's over 1,000 of them in English. You can also search at the collection level. So if you just jump between recipes and collections, click on collection, and you can see these are all the chicken collections. So these are the chicken recipe books. Now, generally, when you search for collections, if I just take that search result off, if I go into collections, I've got over 6,000 results here. Now, you can manually set up your Cookidoo filters when you're searching recipes to show you all the English results, not just the UK ones, but all the results from around the world. And we'll just have a quick look to make sure you've got your settings correct for that. When you're searching collections or indeed articles, you have to manually override the countries. So, for example, you would need to select, right, if I want to see all of the English books published in English, I can't filter on English as a language. I have to manually add in all the countries where English is spoken. So it's generally for Australia, UK, US, Canada, although Canada's got some French recipes in it, because of course they've got a French-speaking population as well. And sometimes you'll find that some of the Chinese recipes are in English as well. So you can show all those results. It just narrows it down. So you're not scrolling through thousands of collections that you won't understand because they're not published in your language. Okay, so, oh, that one looks quite nice. Smart snacking, I've not seen that. So here you'll get collections from all around the world that you may not necessarily have come across, because our particular market, the UK market, won't show them. The UK, so your homepage generally shows what's new in the UK market, but not from all the other countries around the world, because you just don't have the space for it. So it's quite nice every now and again just to pop onto the collections and have a look at what's come out. And you'll see there are different versions of the same book. That's because each market produces their own version. So you can just have a scroll through, and you can save any collection. So, for example, if I want to have a look at this smart snacking book, that looks pretty cool. I'm going to, oh, I've already saved it. You can save, there's a little save button. So you can either, if you've saved it and you don't want it anymore, you can remove it. If you haven't saved it, you can click save, and then it will be available to you through your recipe tab. So you can look through articles. So we publish articles in exactly the same way. So if I just go back to my search function, you can't search for articles on your phone, by the way. You can only search on I think you can do it on a tablet possibly, but a laptop or a computer. And again, you'll need to just make sure that you've got the English speaking countries identified. Let me just quick look. If you ever are given any vouchers for example, if you host a demo, so lots of customers, when we have, when you host demos, we always give you a gift to start off with. Sometimes it's a Cookidoo voucher. So if you're given a Cookidoo voucher for hosting a demo and inviting friends, and by hosting a demo, what we mean by that is inviting your advisor to come and run the demo for you. You're not expected to do it yourself, so don't worry about that. But hosting demos is a really lovely way of finding out new recipes, seasonal recipes. You always pick up loads of hints and tips from your machine. And we encourage you to invite your friends, because it's a lot. You can then just turn it into a bit more of a social event. You get to cook some lovely food, share it with friends. We get to show your friends how the Thermomix works, and we hope that they might at some point want to join our community. And sort of as a token of our appreciation for you doing that, then we offer you a little gift as a thank you for helping us share Thermomix with new people. So often you will get the host gift this month. I think we've got a chopping board and one of our printed cookery books. But sometimes they range. We tend to change them every month because, of course, we want to encourage customers, as many customers as possible, to host demos for us. We love doing it. It's the favourite part of my job: getting out, meeting people, cooking with you, cooking with your friends, showing you how to use your Thermomix to its full potential, and sharing as well sort of my background as a chef. So I share lots of tips and techniques of demos that you probably wouldn't pick up otherwise. So they're great value, really. And as a thank you, you will always get a little gift, and sometimes you give vouchers. So if you get vouchers, then this is where you have to add them in on your Cookidoo account on a computer. You can't do it through the app, by the way. Okay, so I think that's probably all I need to show you with Cookidoo here. What I want to show you though is, I just stop share on here, and I'm going to just start sharing on my phone screen. Let me just stop my video a minute to do this. If I just open my Cookidoo app on there, I know it gets a little bit confusing, but most people would set up their account settings using their phone, so it's better if I show you on a phone. So if I just come back to Zoom and then go to, hopefully I can go to share. Why is it not letting me share my screen on there? Oh, it's not letting me access my share screen option. Don't know why that would be. Oh, here we go. Sometimes I don't really understand. So let me screen share my screen through my phone. Sometimes Zoom does really odd things, like not show you a split screen. Right, I'm just going to go on to Cookidoo. Hopefully you should be able to see Cookidoo. Can you see Cookidoo on my on your screen now, or not? Or can you still see me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see Cookidoo?
We can see you, but I can't see Cookidoo.
Oh, I wonder why not. Let me just remove the spotlight from that. Let's just try that again. Should be all right. On toolbar. Why is it doing this? I just love Zoom when it does this stuff like this. I might not be able to show it to you. Ever since Zoom's upgraded, I find it not as easy to use. Now it's Right, 2 ticks. Let's see if I can do this. Got a nice view of my tummy. I can't get onto the toolbar at the bottom. I think I'm gonna struggle with this tonight. It's not showing me that toolbar for some reason. Why isn't it showing me the toolbar? Do I have to be on a different view? Oh, I wonder if it's not showing it to me because, right, let me remove this spotlight from here. Okay, and then I'm just going to make myself host again. Might just be that host, co-host, go onto that. So, right, now I've got the toolbar, share, screen broadcast, start. Okay, bear with me. Right, this looks better, doesn't it? Okay, so now you should see my Cookidoo account. Can you see that? Yeah, hopefully.
Yes.
All right, so can you notice you've got a little chef's hat icon at the top right of the screen? So this is like the final thing I'm going to tell you. This is really, really important because the most common question that we get when people look for recipe, when I share recipes on my Facebook group, is why can't I find it? And generally almost always you can't find the recipe because your Cookidoo filters are not set up properly and you're restricting yourself to UK only recipes. The way you override that is if you go to that little chef's icon at the top of the screen, chef's hat icon, go to preferences, and then go to search filter preferences and click update filter. You need to make sure on here you have got, I also recommend often that those little, some of those options at the top are ticked. The Thermomix friend box generally tends to be ticked. I untick that because for some reason I found it doesn't show certain recipes. So make sure that's unticked. You want your English language box to be ticked, but this is the key part. Under country or region, you need to make sure, you see where it says UK, that will automatically have a tick in it when you first log into your Cookidoo account. So you need to take the tick out of there and then click save. So your search filter preferences need to say all, none, with Thermomix accessories, English, and then all countries or regions. And when you've got those set up properly, you will be shown all the recipes from around the world where English is spoken, not just the UK recipes. And that will be the main reason why you can't find a recipe. So it's really important that you set that up properly. Okay, and I think that's probably, I know what I was going to look at. It was scaled recipes. I don't think I can do that on here now. I think I might not be able to do it on the app. Let me just stop the share. Stop broadcasting. Okay, right. This is where now I think I might have just taken myself off of here. And I wonder if I can share directly on here. Share back on there. So share. Yes, so I'm back on here. So if I go to, we want to look at recipe scaling, I believe it's going to depend, I think, on the recipe that you choose. So if I have a look at coconut and spinach dal, can you see on here, on this recipe, so this is on my laptop screen, not on my app screen. You've got the option here of changing your serving size. So this recipe is available in several serving sizes with guided cooking. So you can either, you can either change it to 4, and that's your serving size changed to 4 portions, so it's automatically updated, or you can change it to 6 it was based on, or you can change it to 8. Okay, and then you can click cook today. And then it should appear on your Thermomix screen. So you can automatically change the serving size for certain recipes. It may not be available for all recipes, so just bear that in mind. If you don't get that option here, it just means it's not available. But I do believe you need to look at it on your Cookidoo account through a laptop rather than on the app. I don't think you've got that functionality of doing it on the app on your phone. Okay, so I hope I haven't confused you all this evening. I have recorded the session, so you may want to go back and just revisit some of the recording. Now I'm going to see, I've lost my toolbar again. Oh, it's so frustrating to try and take my, I want to put my camera back on, but I can't. So I'm not getting my toolbar at the bottom. Why am I not getting my toolbar? No, it's not going to let me do that. You just love it. Don't know why I'm not getting my toolbar. And I think I've got out. There we go. Start video. Right. Back up there. I really messed about with it. Zoom can be a law unto itself at some points. Right. So I hope that's answered some of your questions rather than confused you all. There is an awful lot to learn, which is why we run these sessions and why we also encourage our customers to have a welcome visit in person. So if you haven't already had a demo before you buy your Thermomix, it's very advisable to have a welcome visit with your advisor. They can be done online if you live further away, or we can come and see you in person if you live locally. And what's really nice at those welcome visits, again, is if you invite your friends, because not only can we get you a free gift as a thank you for helping us share Thermomix with the wider community, it's just always a lovely social event. And it's much nicer to cook and enjoy food with friends. And that's what we're hoping to do. You know, Thermomix is a very sociable tool. We all love using it. We love talking about it. We love showing people what it can do. And we all obviously love the food that it produces. And demos are a way of combining all of those aspects of Thermomix into one. So it's a really nice way of learning more about, first and foremost, learning more about your Thermomix, getting hands-on with your advisor, but also combining that with an opportunity to see friends and to enjoy food with them. So I hope you really enjoyed the session this evening. If any of you are on here and haven't got a Thermomix and want to get a Thermomix and been invited by an advisor, please go back to that advisor who has invited you to watch this evening's Zoom. If you have just ended up here, sometimes people just see sort of my events advertised. If you just ended up here, you don't know who your advisor is, just get in touch with me. You should have my details when you registered for this Zoom. You should have my details, but I will get in contact with everybody tomorrow and just send them a link to the recording. So I'm just going to stop the recording now. Again, record. How can I stop? Right, stop the recording. Oh.